I am here with Jonathan from Gealdýr. We've been trying to get this interview going for a while now, but until now it hasn't actually worked out. But I'm happy it did now, and especially because you have also a new song out.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really happy to be part of this interview.
So you started with Gealdýr about, I think, 6 years ago,
Yeah, that's correct.
and you've been very open in interviews about that you have some health issues, a heart disease, I guess, and
Yeah, that's
chronic
correct.
fatigue syndrome.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with sharing how this, affects your life and also, I guess, the ability to create music?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. It was around, I would say, 2013 when I got like my first heart problems, I would say. It was very, very intense. Like I got like a lot of problems with my heart, and basically it started all with atrial fibrillation. It's a basically a fibrillation disorder, and with that I kind of like landed in some sort of burnout. I almost want to call it, and also developed like a panic disorder because my whole body was was just turning really sick. And after a lot of like research, we found out that I have like this very, very rare genetic disease with both my parents affect actually. So both my parents have this very rare genetic disease, but they are no family whatsoever. Just wanted to let you know that because everybody's like wait, what? How come? Like, but my mom is from France actually, so my dad is Dutch, so it's they're not related in any way. Just letting you guys know that. But yeah, I'm just affected with that very, very rare disease, and from there on it basically started. And I was also diagnosed with like myalgic encephalitis. It's in my case, it there has been like a lot of like tests done in Amsterdam in the ME specific center in Amsterdam. Yeah, they basically found out that my body doesn't function the way it should. So basically, to explain it the best way possible to people, is that my energy through the day is around like 5%. I have like a battery of like 5%, and that's what I have to work with. So the first few years of the first 3 years when I got sick, basically, I was mostly laying in bed because I went from like a very healthy body to very sick. To from being very active, sporting, everything like that, doing everything, college, university, you name it,
Mhm.
becoming very sick and ill, and I could only like lay in bed for like around 2 3 years for the first 3 years. That was like very, very intense. Yeah, that's that's a bit like the part how it started out actually.
Yeah, because that is also what I gathered from research, mostly that's kind of also what led you to music.
Yeah, that's correct. Actually, in that time, like I found out I've always been a huge history nerd, so I love that. And but I found out about like bands like Vadruna or Heilung, for example, and I really came in touch with kind of like this kind of, for me at least, very healing music, and I wanted to know more about this. And I was like, hey, what is this, right? Uh,
Mhm.
so it was like, yeah, at that time it was so inspiring, and it was helping me so much to just get through the day because I've always been a huge like, I always have loved nature a lot,
Yeah.
and I love walking through nature in the forest. And I mean, I live next to it to the forest. The thing is that I couldn't do walks anymore. But listening to like, this very, I don't know, this very healing music, it was like just being able to go out of myself, to go out of not being confronted maybe with my body. And it's very hard to explain.
Yeah.
So my apologies for that, but
No, no problem.
it is like the experience of like listening to something very like, how to say that? Very ancient, very, very healing, very connecting with my soul and nature. And I think this combination between like history, nature, music, and all these different concepts together, I think it really inspired me. Like I remember I told myself at that time, I was like, well, if one day there comes a moment when I will be able to make some music, I really want to try to do something like this myself and help people, hopefully, or create something that can help people.
Was that a specific moment or was that a thought that just happened?
I was just thinking like this music helps me so much. It really like helps me, and it really yeah, I would say healed me in a mental way, because
Yeah.
I think you can imagine that if you lay on bed most of your of your days in 3 years, you go nuts, of course.
Yeah.
So it's like I was just thinking like, oh, there should be more music like this. Or more people should be aware of this kind of music. And of course you have other kind of folk music like Celtic music or stuff like that, right? But it's like this kind of like Nordic folk music. I wasn't I before that time I never heard of it, and I was just so, I don't know, like so inspired by it, also because of my own kind of heritage, I would say.
And for you, it was also, I guess, the start of a more, yeah, spiritual journey.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely true. So I was basically raised as a Christian by my parents, and I have a very good, very sweet parents. I love them a lot. But I came at a point that I was like, especially when I got sick, that I couldn't really find answers in that, like I was really like asking, oh, why is this happening, and all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff, and why do people suffer so much, right?
Yeah.
Because with the ME that I have, I also have like constantly chronic pain. So it was like, yeah, it's a very hard journey, basically. I just found a lot of like answers in, I would say, in nature itself,
Yeah.
basically. Like that really that really yeah, that really focuses on the point, basically, because for me it's like, I'm not like a follower of like Norse mythology in that direction. Like I'm not like somebody who says, oh, I follow that directly. I have respect for people who do that, of course. I'm more a person who I see things more in the animistic kind of way. I don't know if you've ever heard about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that okay, okay, for sure you have. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so that's more kind of the way I like to I like to see life, and for me it explains a lot. Also, when you look at science and everything like that. So for me, it's like all religions are basically also very far away, all related to this kind of animistic path, this almost this global consciousness that people once had, right? Like
Yeah.
I
Indeed.
think this is just amazing. I think that, and when I kind of found out that, it gave me a lot of peace in my mind. And also now, at that time I would say most of the time I was laying on bed and I wasn't really able to get out. And I'm really talking physically because of the pain and everything and the fatigue. But sometimes I was able to, for example, to go with the car, with my parents or friends or whatever, to the forest, and I just was like, oh yes, finally I'm able to go again in nature and go for a little bit, even though it was like not long, like maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And it was just, yeah, very healing for me to just be out. And it's really hard to explain when you have to lay on bed because of a sickness, and you literally have to lay in the darkness,
Yeah.
and you cannot do anything. And then when you're finally out, and when you embrace nature again, or you're out, it's, you really realize how immensely beautiful that is. I don't have any other words for that. It's just that there is such a power to it that helped me a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I can't, even imagine being in that situation and then being able to go out, how much of a relief that can be.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty heavy, actually.
Yeah, no, it is really heavy. It's still really heavy because it's still going on. With that being said, I was like, at a certain moment, I was like, even though I have all these problems, I was like, I'm just going to start with some music and just see how it goes.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think I took around a year. It was with the first song, Otala, to kind of like, okay, where do I want to go with this? How do I want to make it sound? And learn a lot of things, do a lot of research from bed as well. Yeah, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, yeah. The interesting thing that I just want to say is that I do not spend that much time in my studio or something like that. It's actually what the energy that I have, and the time that I have. I sometimes in 2 or 3 hours I can make a full song, and that's it. So, and yeah, that's how it goes. And then I'm totally dead afterwards. But yeah, yeah.
But
So
I
it's,
hope then it was worth it.
yeah, it is. It
Okay.
is absolutely worth it. Yeah.
The basis of this podcast is in a sense that, I work in music, and I've always found that in certain genres, there's a lot of being open to what nature does to people.
Hmm.
And, in this Nordic folk genre, it's really, it's really present. Looking at the animistic beliefs you mentioned before, could
Hmm.
you share what that means to you?
For me personally, it's the knowledge that everything around me is alive.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go for a walk in the forest, let's say, I would say most people are not aware of any, like let's say in the Netherlands, right? Like most people
Yeah.
on the bikes, of course, right? And they just go, and I just noticed that nobody really takes in like the energy, what's around them, right? And of course, yeah, after many years now, I'm very much focused on audio and for and basically sound.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm nowadays when I go, and maybe it's also because I train myself in that way, but the more and more I go to the basically nature or the forest or whatever, I just notice all the amazing sounds that all the amazing sounds that the whole forest gives, and it's almost like there's so much life going on. It's just insane when you think about it. Like when it comes to animals, maybe insects. Yeah, that sounds maybe a bit weird, but it almost feels like even the trees make sounds, right? That's not that I speak or anything like that, but
No,
like
no.
through I mean I wish, but through the through the wind or something like that, or it's
Yeah.
you just feel so much energy when you're there, and yeah, I don't know. For me, it's just such a magical place, but yeah, I definitely I think it has to do with me being so withdrawn from society and just being sick and having had that period of not being able to go anywhere. And when you're there and have the chance to embrace nature, and I don't know, I just love the feeling. It is so, there's no other word than healing for me. I don't know, maybe there's just too much oxygen or something in the forest. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it really is like it's really, I don't know, it's so helping for me.
But in your songs lyrically don't really go into that, or because you have albums about Norse mythology and the
Yeah.
new song is about Celtic mythology.
Yeah, so the new song basically based on like the Druids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to focus on this kind of meditative kind of process because, so much knowledge of Druids has been lost. They didn't write anything down. There's no like written text or anything left because they had like oral traditions and everything like that. So I didn't want to do anything with lyrics or anything like that. I really wanted to create a song that really goes in this kind of meditative state of mind, and also a bit in, yeah, I would say it has a very kind of sad tone to it as well, that you like feel that, oh wow, what did we lost, right? Like what so much has been lost, I would say, also through history, and I think that's very sad. I think we could have learned so much from them if something would have been preserved from, yeah, from their side.
You mean like knowledge?
Yeah, yeah, knowledge, right? Like absolutely knowledge. And yeah, I think that's, yeah, coming back to what you said, like what is this animistic kind of path for me? I would say I try to see it in modern kind of daylight, right? Like, I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
live in a modern day. I mean, the music that we make, first of all, it's all technical, right? Like we
Yeah.
record everything with keyboards, and of course I mean, I use like drums, and I have like my tageharpa and my crossingalera or trossingalera. I have all these instruments, but again, we use also technology to record it. For example, myself, I am not able because of my health problems to perform live, sadly. A lot of people ask me all the time, oh, when can you perform live? I would love you to, like
Yeah.
I would love for you to come to America or whatever. And most of the time I just say to people, yeah, yeah, I have no plans or whatever. But the reality is just like I cannot do it. My health doesn't allow me, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's a miracle that we have this technology and I can record it. And a lot of the times the music that I make is like a one-time recording. So it's like it's a it's just all improvisation of what I feel and what I want to create. So for example, I can work on some text and I'm like very inspired by the Eddas. Most of the time, of course, I have done a lot of songs. as you know, with the new single, I'm focusing more like on this, this Celtic kind of way, or this Celtic road. I'm actually working on a new album. I think I can say that now. That's actually that's
Otherwise,
actually
your manager tell you.
yeah, no, no, no. It will be okay. I am actually working on a new album, what is in full Old English, and is going to
Okay.
focus on actually the Arthurian legends, basically. But
Hmm.
it's told in Old English in in the vision of the Anglo-Saxons, basically. So it's yeah, it's in Old English. I'm very excited about it. And that's all I can say for now. But it's a huge project what I'm working on, and I just love this kind of bringing back this folklore as well. I mean, I've tried to do that with the Valraven album, for
Hmm.
example.
I read the description of the song, and it says, there's an underlying theme, I guess, with the cyclical
Yeah.
cycles, earth cycles,
Yes. Yeah.
and the celebrations of those.
Yeah. Basically, back to your question then, when it comes to like this animistic kind of, how do I see that? Because this question is, I mean, for me, you kind of notice like I can talk really a lot about something, and I know sometimes I maybe over answer a
Oh no,
question.
no,
No,
that's
it's okay. It's okay. Okay, it's cool. For such a topic, you can talk hours, right? Like, I mean,
Mhm.
okay, so how do you see that? Okay, so let's start somewhere. I'm not really somebody who can like answer these things in a in a short period. So yeah, so again, like for me, this animistic path, if I have to make it in a few words, or I'd kind of like to tell you that in a more shorter way, as you said about the whole kind of all these cycles of nature, this cyclical,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's the answer of all of life, because we live kind of in a at least that's how I see it in a world that we see life very linear, right? Like our
Yeah.
society sees life very linear. You're being born and you die, and that's it, or you live your life, etc., etc. But in the old days or in the old ways, everything was cyclical, basically, and you see that through their festivals and their celebrations, basically, the way they remembered things. For me, it explained like so much in my own life. For example, I was because of my heart problems, I have been a lot of the times in the hospital,
Yeah.
what was not nice as well. And yeah, honestly, I've been very much afraid of death. I mean, who wouldn't be, right? When you go to all that kind of stuff, it's a very normal feeling, I guess, for a human. But for me, this kind of knowledge that everything goes in cycles, everything is coming and going and coming and going. And I don't know how to explain this, but this gave me such reassurance that life is made as it should be, and everything is okay, and everything will come and go. And I mean, even when you look in Norse mythology, I love Norse mythology because even though it is a religion, there are so many topics where focus on this kind of cycle of life. Because at the end of, let's say, Ragnarok, there are also two humans who survive, and
Yeah.
the cycle starts again, right? And I
Hmm.
think, wow, that's amazing. Where in, for example, in our society, and how at least how it is built up, when you talk about the end of the day, it's or the end of time, it's the end of time, and everything goes to, yeah, yeah. Everything ends, and that's totally not how nature works, even, well, we live in a very weird world at the moment. Let's say it like that, very strange times, and I don't want to go too much into politics or anything like that, but I think that no matter what humans do to one another, I believe that nature always finds a way to flourish. So,
Yeah.
you also see that on ruins, on ancient ruins, nature always finds a way to grow. And that's just what I think, yeah, that's just what inspires me so much. This whole cycle and this cyclical path and this knowledge of this animalistic kind of knowledge. I think for me personally, there's so much truth in it, and that's just what inspires me so much.
I actually had a note on this, what you just said, life and death are pretty hard to deny
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
also in our society. But talking about rebirth, then you probably get looked at like you're crazy.
Hmm.
So that was something that I had like a question, like how do you view the rebirth part?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think if I had if only I had the full knowledge to answer that one, right? I
Yeah,
mean
yeah,
then
but maybe through the lens of how the Celts did.
well, I think for me personally, oh man, this is such a big topic. Um, so it's like, well, okay, so I think first of all it's so interesting to talk about life and death, and I like to approach it a bit bigger than just Celtic, but
Mhm.
just like one tribe, let's say it like that, or one part of the part of the world, because I think that to truly to truly answer this question or give my opinion about it, I think with all the research I've done, I think I should approach it quite like broad and also include other kind of religions or other kind of like forms of spirituality, because yeah, when you look, for example, in Norse mythology, like when people, yeah, I hope the people who will listen they have a little bit of knowledge about Norse mythology, because I will try to go a bit into it. When you look into the the Eddas and you read about, for example, when when people die, and let's say a normal person who would go to Helheim, right, like Hellheimer, where it's a very cold world, right? What's very interesting. And our modern vision of hell is a very warm place, right?
Yeah, very
So
true.
yeah, yeah. So it's like I find this so intriguing. I recently talked with my wife about this because I was like, it's don't you think it's super intriguing that, let's say, from countries where, let's say, Abrahamic religions come from, where it's warm, maybe sometimes too warm, and people associate that maybe with danger. They associate maybe with heat, also with danger, and not a good place. Maybe I
Uh-huh.
don't know, where things are too hot. And maybe in the old days I don't know, in Northern Europe, where it was too cold, where people didn't really know too much about like heat or stuff like that. They were like, oh man, we have to watch out that we don't freeze to death. So they're like associate coldness with that part of danger as well. And I don't know, maybe this is a really weird thought, but this is just how my brain works. But yeah, I like to think that when it comes to life and death, that I do not have the answer for that, but it gives me a lot of peace that I know that no matter what happens, I believe that my life energy, or however you want to call it, I truly believe it will live on in some form or way. Maybe it also has to do because I was raised Christian. It's hard to say. I'm still kind of like, I don't know. I don't have a specific kind of idea how that is going to be. But when you look in Celtic mythology, for example, they talk about the other world, for example, right? The other world,
Mhm.
the world of the death, and all these themes, and it all comes back. And I would say this global consciousness of maybe it is that people really wanted something after life, because yeah, I mean, what are we here for else, right?
Mhm.
But whatever it is, everything in nature, everything in the world, everything in the universe works in cycles. I mean, look at the sun and the moon, everything. Doesn't matter what it is, we, ourselves, whatever. So whatever it is, what's next will work in a cycle as well. It's just like that. That's the only answer I got for you that I'm no 100% is sure. No matter what, I mean, I don't believe it's linear. That's just it. I don't
Yeah.
believe the end is the end. I'm like, that's not how anything in this whole universe works. So it's kind of bullshit.
Well, I don't expect you to solve life after death here,
Yeah, okay.
As you described before, a lot of earlier beliefs and religion, they all are very nature-based, and there's a lot of knowledge there that I think through actually music has found its way back in a certain sense. Do you think there's a role for music and artists to
Absolutely.
retrieve that?
I think, yeah. I mean, look what's happening here. I mean, what you're talking
Yeah.
about. It's finding its way back, right? I
Yeah.
mean, here you have the cycle again of life. I mean, everything. When you look at history, civilizations. I mean, look at there's a reason why there's no Roman Roman emperor anymore. Like all this kind of stuff of an empire. All civilizations fall and go. That's the reality. But I think this. I think this knowledge of that life is one big cycle, or that nature goes in this cyclical kind of, yeah, path basically. I have no other word for it, I think. It's I think a lot of people acknowledge that, and they find maybe also a lot of like, I don't know, like reassurance in, wow, our ancestors, before Christianity, they weren't so dumb. They had they were like, wow, they had a lot of like knowledge, and of course a lot of it is forgotten. But I mean, well, I would definitely say for people, go buy a Poetic Edda book, for example, and read Havamal. you know, do it of course in English or whatever your own language is, if that's possible. But there's a lot of wisdom in it, when it comes to, our ancestors had so much knowledge, what has been lost sadly. But I think it's so beautiful that artists like, well, I mean, look at what Runa and Heilung, they inspired me, and they helped me so much. I just felt so inspired, and I felt like almost as a, yeah, I just wanted to, at that time my thought was like, I just want to heal people through music. What I feel here, I wanna do that. I wanna inspire people. I wanna help people how I felt I was helped. I don't know where that came from. I just think it had to do with my own suffering. That Yeah, this is also actually a funny thing. When you look at Odin, for example, in Norse mythology, he had to sacrifice his eye for knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And I feel that I don't know why, but I had to kind of like sacrifice, or my health had to be sacrificed to learn everything what I had to learn that I have now. I don't know why, but I think that there's a lot of knowledge, wisdom in that as well. That you can really gain something when you lose something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, look, again, these are very hard topics, very deep. So yeah,
Yeah, but I think I think I mean there's everyone has their own version of losing something, whether that's health or
yeah,
something
absolutely,
else. There's always something to be gained from it.
absolutely. It's very hard to see, right? I mean, there's a lot of times there you don't know the reason for things. But yeah, for me it makes a lot of sense now, to be honest, what I went through.
Hmm.
Of course, there are also a lot of times that I go through things that I don't understand. I mean, that's part of life.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to look at it.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of the way that it helps me. And to come back to your question again, I think artists have a beautiful opportunity to to show to other people, or to people who maybe are also searching, or who feel that our current day and age is so empty. At least that's how I feel sometimes when I look at things, that there's a lot of stuff to gain from old wisdom and spirituality. And it's a new cycle almost that starts. That's what I feel, because there's so many people who are getting interested in this. Oh, what is this? What is this form of spirituality? I've never heard about that.
Yeah, it's definitely been a doorway for, I guess, a lot of people to go on inner and outer search.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, looking back on your own journey and
Mhm.
whether it's knowledge or spirituality or something else, what would you have? What would you tell your 2018 version of yourself? Yeah,
2018.
just before you start
Oh,
making
just
the
before.
music, basically.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
guessing
yeah.
2018.
Yeah. No, no, no. That's correct. That's correct. Just before I started. Well, I don't know what I would have said. I would have said some unbelievable stuff is going to happen to you, because I never expected any of this, to be very honest with you. It was just a passion. I just wanted to make music, to reach some people, hopefully, that would like it. And and I don't even know what to say. I would say maybe that, look, everything will work out as it should be, because that's how it goes. And I think I would tell myself that, because I think, definitely around 2017, 16, I definitely felt hopeless. Like, I have no idea what my life is gonna be like. I have no idea what, with this health issues, and what can I still do? I felt very like, how to say that I couldn't do anything in life. I was kind of like a failure. That's how I really felt. yeah, I mean, I come out of a family of really hardworking people. My father's a businessman, everything like that, and I was also raised like like you you have to go. I don't know if that's a Dutch thing or not, but you have to go
Oh,
on. Yeah, probably
very
right.
much.
Yeah, very much. Yeah. So you have to go on, even though if you can't and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's so for me. It's I think my younger self. I think also especially the one from 2000, I don't know, 13, 2014, I would just like to tell to that Jonathan, I would say, look, everything will go, you have no idea what's gonna happen to you. Everything will be okay. It's gonna be magical. You have no idea. Yeah, that sounds a bit strange, right? But
No, no, no.
yeah.
It's
It's to reassure myself because I don't want to, thankfully I don't or didn't don't suffer from a depression, but I did had like a panic disorder and stuff like that, and it's just like yeah, I would definitely reassure myself, my younger self, that look, it's gonna work out really well for you, and just believe in that. And yeah, I think that's something along that lines, those lines. Yeah.
Hmm. Thank you for sharing that.
No, sure.
Yeah, you're working on a new album, you said, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, what's the timeline? When can people expect new stuff?
Okay, so I hope to finish it this year. It's well, I will definitely finish it this year, but the thing is, I have to be a bit careful with saying too much about it because also with my health,
Hmm.
I work on music when I can. It's like sometimes I don't. I mean, I don't know what image people have of me as an artist who listen to my music, but I sometimes don't work for weeks or months on music, and I really work on inspiration. So
Hmm.
sometimes I have weeks I don't touch an instrument. That's just the reality. And I like the process of making music is for me really like it's so it's a pure improvisation almost of my ideas in my head. That's how I approach it. I'm gonna be very honest with you. There are a lot of songs that I made that I probably will not be able to play anymore because I have no idea anymore how to play them. That sounds terrible probably, but that's because I really work in this kind of way that I'm like there are so many ideas in my head constantly, and if I had the energy, I would be creating constantly, I think. But yeah, maybe that's also part of kind of like my process of needing to rest a lot, and then when I have a little bit of energy, I create basically. What I'm doing now with what I told you with the new Old English or full Old English album, it's I just love to dive in this kind of Celtic Anglo-Saxon folklore because, of course, Anglo-Saxons and England and Celtic
Hmm.
times. It's it's all mixed and together basically. But yeah, I really love to create something that yeah, something totally new and go a bit from this. Now I go from the Norse mythology more into, I would say, folklore almost, right?
Hmm.
And also in a dead language, what I think is super cool. Did a lot of research on that. So yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. Actually, that was already it.
Okay. Good. Great. It was so nice. Yeah. Really nice to have a good talk.